Well, hello and welcome to our high school people from years 7 and 9 to our Snowy Hydro celebration of National Science Week. So today we've put together a panel of experts across our business, and they will be talking to you about everything to do with all the questions that you've asked, renewing our energy future, talking about the sciences of the snowy, talking about our careers and where the stories of our beautiful panelists have taken them. And so you will find out some interesting things about these people. So I just want to thank everybody out there, our years 7 to 9 people, because we have received some absolutely outstanding questions. And as a result, our panelists have a lot to tackle in this session. So next thing that I would like to do, and it's a great privilege and honour for me, is to make the acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Nagario people on which we meet today, and pay our respects to the elders past and present. We are all on different lands today, and so we acknowledge those who have come before us. So I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Carolyn Ewart and I'm the Education Programs Manager here at Snowy Hydro. Now, my role takes me across the whole business. So I'm very lucky because I get to meet all these wonderful people, of which some of you will meet today. And I've learned an awful lot about Snowy Hydro in that process. I work with a fantastic education team, and together we are putting together education programs to suit everyone. That's teachers, home learners, parents, grandparents. It's all there on our education hub, online education hub on our webpage. So first things first, we're going to now introduce our wonderful panel. They're absolute experts in everything they do. What I do, people, is just introduce you, your name and your position, and then you can talk a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll go around the circle. So I think I would like to start with Guy. So Guy Boardman is our Manager of Major Accident Prevention. Guy.
Thanks, Carolyn, and g'day everybody. So as Carolyn said, my name's Guy Boardman, and I'm very lucky to work for Snowy Hydro as the Manager of Major Accident Prevention. So what does that mean? Basically, in Snowy, we have got some incredible assets. You know, we've got a whole heap of great big power stations that produce the energy that goes out that all of us get to use each and every day. But those power stations, everything on a ginormous scale. And that means we produce big energy in the form of electricity, but we need big energy and big machines and everything to do it. And with that, there's a whole heap of stuff that we need to manage to keep all of that safe each and every day. And my job really is about making sure that across the scheme, we're doing all the checks and balances and things we need to do to keep those assets in good condition and safe. So that's me. I'll hand on back to you, Carolyn.
Yes, thank you. So we'll go to Sarah Roda, and Sarah is a graduate mechanical engineer. So what's that all about, Sarah?
Thanks, Carolyn. As Carolyn said, I'm Sarah Roda and I'm a graduate mechanical engineer. I studied mechanical and sustainable energy engineering at the University of Adelaide, and then moved over here to Snowy Hydro to start my graduate program just under 3 years ago. And my current team in the graduate program is the Investigation and Development Projects team, looking at some very cool stuff and the use of new technologies such as drones and ways of improving our current assets.
Fantastic. That sounds very exciting. So next cab off the rank is Craig Leonard, and Craig is an electrical engineer. So Craig, over to you.
Thanks, Carolyn. Yes, my name is Craig Leonard and I have been working for Snowy Hydro for 4 years now as an electrical engineer, based in Coburn in the lovely Snowy Mountains. And my day-to-day role is supporting the maintenance teams and looking after all our assets at Murray 1 and Murray 2 power stations. It's a great place to work. Yeah, and really challenging and rewarding work that I do on a daily basis.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about that, Craig. So now over to Rachel Shooten, who's our Manager of Technology Services. Rachel, tell us how you began.
Thanks, Carolyn. So my name's Rachel Shooten, and I'm the Manager of Technology Services at Snowy. So together, my team look after all of the device technology within Snowy. We operate the IT service desk, and we've got specialists in our team that support, a bunch of core applications within the business. So I've been with Snowy for 20 years. I'm based in Cooma, and I joined straight out of Year 12 as the first IT trainee. Back to you, Carolyn.
Fantastic. All right, so now we're moving over to Emily Martin, and she's our Environmental Assurance Officer. So Emily, what's that?
Hey everyone, as Carolyn mentioned, my name is Emily Martin and I'm an environmental engineer. So I'm in the environmental assurance role, which is pretty much, it's a site-based role, and it's making sure that Snowy 2.0 is built in accordance with all our approvals and employers' requirements and the designs.
Wow, that's huge. Thank you, Emily. And our final panelist is Kush Dodier-Shah, and Kush is a graduate mechanical engineer. So we want to hear a lot about that. Go ahead, Kush.
Thanks, Caroline. Yeah, my name's Kush. I grew up and studied in Perth, WA, at UWA. I did mechanical engineering and commerce, and first actually joined Snowy through the vacation program. That was last summer, and then this year I've come back to join as a grad. It's been an awesome journey so far, and my team at the moment where I'm starting is capital projects. So we basically do projects and upgrades around the scheme to continue building on it and making sure it's always improving.
Fantastic. Wow, what a panel. So to get the conversation going today, we've had some terrific questions, everyone, about Snowy Hydro and our renewable energy. So I think I'll go over to you, Guy. I'd love for you to talk to us and give us a brief overview on the how Snowy Hydro plays in the energy sector. Could you explain that to us, please?
I will do my best, Carolyn. So Snowy actually plays a few really, really key important roles in the energy sector. As I mentioned before, the reality is we own a whole heap of power stations. And so in its simplest form, what we do is provide electricity into the national electricity market that goes out through all the power lines and powers all the homes and businesses out there right across the east coast of Australia. But the other key role that Snowy now plays in the energy market is it actually underpins the new technologies that have come into the market into the form of the renewables like wind and solar. So wind and solar, fantastic technologies. They're our free power from the sun, power from the wind. But it's also renewables that I term unreliable renewables. And I mean that in a nice way, in that the reason I say they're unreliable is we don't get to turn those on and off whenever we want. Solar's not much good at night time, doesn't work, and wind's not much good when it's not really windy. So what that means is that the electricity market is live all the time. We always need generators to be pumping electricity into those lines because we're always using it. So the power of the hydros, like we have, is that we can turn those on and off anytime we like. So it's having those hydros there and the gas-fired power stations and everything that allow the market to stay in balance when the wind and solar generation is just not there. So it plays a really, really important role in firming up the reliability of the national electricity market. On top of that, we're also what's known as a vertically integrated business. So not only do we make the electricity that goes out to all the mums and dads and the businesses out there, we sell that electricity. And we do that through our energy retailer that's known as Red Energy, an award-winning organisation, and they sell the electricity that we produce. So we do everything from making the electricity to selling it to the people that are using it. Thanks, Carolyn.
Wow, that's huge. Thank you, Guy. So we've heard a little bit about the complexity of our business. What's intriguing is that we operate in a national park and it's absolutely beautiful and pristine. So we've received, panel, some very good questions about how our operations and construction within the Kosciuszko National Park can protect the environment in which we operate. So can we explain how it's possible to operate a business in a national park whilst generating renewable energy while keeping our environment safe? Emily, I think this is one for you.
Thanks, Carolyn. Yeah, so first of all, Snowy Hydro is a renewable energy company. So that means cleaner energy. So that in turn protects the environment, really. So that's kind of a key ethos of the company. In terms of being able to operate in the national park, we've got a really good track record with National Parks and Wildlife Services. So we've been in the park for over 70 years and we've always exceeded expectations with respect to protecting the park. So that's actually part of the reason we were able to construct Snowy 2.0 is because of this really good reputation. And we also work day to day with national parks and also with other regulators such as the Environmental Protection Agency. So yeah, that's actually part of my day job is working with those agencies and making sure that we are keeping the park protected.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Emily. So you touched on a little bit there about Snowy 2.0. So that's our biggest renewable energy project, and that's actually the biggest in Australia as well. So we've had some questions around that, panel. So the students out there are interested in renewable energy and Snowy 2.0. And so I think with this one, we'll go to Kush and Sarah and they can talk to us about how we make our energy renewable. And then we'll go to Guy, who will talk to us about how much energy Snowy 2 will be producing. And Guy, there's also interest in the tunnel boring machines. So we'd love you to expand on our TBMs and give us a bit more information there. So Kush, we'll start with you.
Yeah,
I think Sarah's going to take the lead here, and I'm going to help her out.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry, Sarah.
That's all right. Yeah, so I'll start off with explaining what renewable energy is. It's a really important concept to understand through this whole discussion, really. I'm sure a lot of you out there have heard about renewable energy. You've probably in your curriculum, we've seen it out in the news, but what actually is renewable energy? So renewable energy is energy that comes from a renewable source. So that's sources that don't deplete as we use them. So things such as solar from the sun, which obviously doesn't matter how much you harvest from the sun, it's not going to run out. Wind, and here at Snowy, for us, it's hydro, which really operates closely with the natural water cycle. So the precipitation, so the rain or the snow that happens up in the mountains, settles in the mountains and melts into streams, which then runs down sides of the mountains, and that's where we have our power stations, capturing that energy as it runs down the mountains. And then that water goes out, eventually ends up out in the sea where it can evaporate and the whole cycle can start again. So that's what makes what we do here at Snowy renewable, is our interaction with that water cycle. And now Kush will talk about different ways of storing energy, which is another really important factor.
Thanks, Sarah. So energy storage is a really, really important part to play within this whole cycle. And we've already touched on it a little bit before, and Guy's going to talk about how Snowy 2 helps that. But basically, in your science curriculum, you might have learned so far, or you might learn in the next 6 months about the law of conservation of energy. And basically that states that energy can never be created nor destroyed, but just changes forms. So as Sarah talked about renewable energy, we're taking energy from the sun and generating electricity. Storage for us is really important. So you might have heard, or the storage is everywhere, you know, in the batteries you put in your torch, or your headphones, or the bigger scale batteries. You know, you might have heard of the Tesla battery in South Australia. But for us, the really important storage is our water. So you would have heard of potential energy, and that's basically our big storages of water, our dams at height. So all that gravitational potential energy in the form of water is stored there, and then when we need it, we can drop it down, turn it into kinetic energy, and then eventually electricity to use, you know, in homes and in businesses. So storage is a really big part, and it pretty much is the backbone of our company and the industry. I'll pass to Guy and he's going to talk a bit about Snowy 2 and how that fits in with renewable energy and storage.
Thanks, Kush. And you've done an amazing job of explaining how storage works, mate, which will make my job a little bit easier here. So Snowy 2.0, it's the scheme as we know it today, the hydro scheme, has nine hydro power stations. The Snowy 2.0 project is that we're building another one. We're going to have 10. The 2.0 hydro power station is going to be built right down in the depths of the mountain, so it's an underground power station. So there'll be a great big tunnel that goes down, that will drive down to get to the power station. And when we drive down the tunnel, we get to this huge big power station that's carved out of the mountain. And then from that power station, we're drilling 2 huge tunnels. They're 11 metres diameter, and those tunnels actually go to 2 of our existing storages. A higher storage in Tanganga, that's where we store our energy in the form of water, and a lower storage being Talbingo Dam, and that's where the water will run to. So the 2.0 power station, it's going to be 2,000 megawatts of generating capacity. So everything for us is, like I said, it's huge. So we even abbreviate our numbers. A megawatt is 1 million watts. So the power station will be capable of producing 2,000 million watts of power. What's that mean in everyday terms? That power station on its own would basically power the city of Canberra, or, you know, well over 500,000 homes. So it will produce enormous amounts of electrical energy. And, you know, the beauty of it is that we can turn that power station on and off whenever we want. That's why they're called peaking power stations. And it can go from, you know, very little, or it can go from standstill to full noise in just a couple of minutes. So we can bring that power online very quickly. Carolyn mentioned there was another question around the tunnel boring machines. So absolutely amazing bits of engineering kit. So when I said that there'll be a big tunnel that goes down to the power station, and then there'll be tunnels go from the power station to those 2 dams, we're going to build those tunnels using tunnel boring machines, or TBMs as we call them. And what they are is they're a big machine that's a couple of 100 metres long. It's the exact diameter of the tunnel that we want to build. So our tunnels are 11 metres in diameter. And basically the machine is a great big long cylinder, 11 metres diameter, and the front of it has a huge big cutting head that spins. And that cutting head just starts to drill into the mountain. The machine grips the mountain and it drills in a little bit, and it builds the concrete lining on the tunnel as it goes. So it literally just carves its way through the mountain and lines the tunnel with concrete as it goes. Starts on the outside of the mountain and it'll end up smack bang in the middle of the power station, if you like, where we'll disassemble it. So we have 3 tunnel boring machines that will be in action, all at the same time, basically, for the 2.0 project, building the various tunnels for it. So they're absolutely fascinating things to see in action. There's some great time-lapse footage out there on YouTube and the Snowy website, everything as to what they look like when they're in action. So have a look if you're interested. Thanks, Carolyn.
Yeah, thank you very much, Guy. Could I just say, Guy, just check your sound in your computer. We were getting a little bit of a reverberation back from there. Okay, well, that's a great segue into technology, because we use a diverse range of technologies here at Snowy Hydro, and we are actually always looking for ways for technology to enhance our operations. So the best person to direct our next question to would be Rachel. We want to know, Rachel, what kind of technologies do we use at Snowy Hydro in our workplace?
Cool, thanks, Carolyn. So, we've been on a transformation path, I would say, with our technology for a number of years, with the aim to be able to work from anywhere. So for a while now, we've used Google as our collaboration platform, and we were really early adopters of cloud technology. So we really saw that pay off last year when the pandemic hit. While many big businesses sort of scrambled to stand up systems so that people could work from home, I would say for the most part, our staff picked up their laptops, and some of them took their monitors and chairs too, and connected from home, and it was all quite seamless, I would say. So we're always looking at innovative ways to use technology. And I'll mention a few of the things that we do and some of the innovative projects that we have running that you might find interesting. So on that remote working theme, we're trialing headset mentoring. So real wear headsets that can be worn under a helmet that allow people to work together, connected by video link. So for example, someone working hands-free on equipment in a power station, while in communication with people back at the office or working from home who can see everything they're doing and assist in real time on the job. If I think about some of our newer systems, we have a really powerful GIS tool, which is basically our mapping system, and we use this a number of different ways. So we use it to capture images from the Snowy 2.0 site that are taken by drones and mobile phones, and we put it into this system so that anyone can visit that map and see the Snowy 2.0 site at different points in time as that development progresses. Snowy 2 also use it to track progress of our first TBM named Lady Eileen Hudson, that Guy was talking about a little bit earlier. So I had a look this morning and it told me that Lady Eileen has so far tunnelled just over 145 metres and laid 67 concrete lining rings, which is pretty cool. And still on that sort of mapping theme, we're looking at dash cam technology that takes video of the road conditions ahead, which is then trained to identify rocks on the road and log their location on the map so that over time, we can see where the banks are shedding the most rubble. And that will then tell us where we need to do some remediation work to avoid larger landslides. And then we get to use some pretty fun toys too. So yes, us grown-ups still like playing with toys as well. We use drones for imagery capture of our assets and sites, and we also use them to undertake inspections where we can't safely send in a person to do those types of jobs. And then a large number of our hydro assets are underwater. So we use submersible ROVs, which is a remotely operated vehicle, to inspect their condition without having to remove the asset from service or, sending in divers. So yeah, I could go on and on and on. We do lots of really interesting things, and there's lots of different ways which we use technology at Snowy.
Wow, my head's spinning. Thank you, Rachel. I think we need to do another virtual session just about that. So now what I'm going to do is take the conversation down another path, and we're going to talk about careers in STEM, and particularly obviously here at Snowy Hydro. So I'm going to cast some of those questions over to our panel. The first one for Rachel, who actually, as we heard earlier, was our first IT trainee, and look what she's doing now. She'll provide an overview of some of our programs, and then over to you, Kush. And we'll talk about your experience as a vacation student and being a part of the graduate program. Over to you.
Yeah, so Snowy Hydro is a proud part of our community, and it's really important to us to support emerging talent in the world of STEM through our development programs. So our traineeships, which is what I did, have been running for a really long time. And this is where you have the opportunity straight out of year 12 to join the Snowy team for 12 months, studying either business admin or IT. And similar to that, we have our apprenticeships. So our apprenticeships Our apprentices complete either a 4-year mechanical or electrical qualification at TAFE, and they get the chance to work across the scheme. We've got our cadets. So our cadet program is open to those trainees and apprentices that I just mentioned who want to go on and study engineering, environmental science or technology. And the cadetship is up to 5 years. And we partner with the University of Wollongong for that. And then we have our graduates. So at the end of that cadet program, you can join the very highly sought after graduate program. And that's a 3-year rotational program, that with the aim to develop you even further and hopefully move you into, a more permanent position within the business. So, and then we've got our vacation placement as well, which is students in their last year at uni will come and work with us for 12 weeks over the summer break. With all these programs, you get real world on the job experience, and work with experts in their fields who will teach and mentor you. So I'll pass over to Kush and he can talk about his experience being part of these programs.
Thanks, Rachel. And just to build on what you said, with all those programs, there's at any given time about 10% of the Snowy workforce that are in a development program. So there's so many young people around. It's a lot of fun. So a bit about my journey. So I studied in WA, but I was really interested to work and learn about renewable energy and try something new. I really like the energy industry. I find it very dynamic. So I applied for the vacation program. So I came across to Cooma, New South Wales, to do that last summer. And it was just an excellent taste tester. I got really, really good experience out on site with some of the experts that Rachel was talking about. Got to see what hydropower is all about. And got some really good projects, and of course just getting experience living in the mountains, which is completely different to WA, but it's a lot of fun. So when I got the opportunity to come back as a grad, it was a bit of a no-brainer. And since I've started, so I've been here for about 6 months now. It's been another really awesome experience. So I've had lots of training opportunities. There's other grads to work with and build off, and because the business, I think, has so many young people and so many development programs, people are really used to that here. So everyone's really happy to help out, guide you along, give you a bit of advice and hopefully and give you those experiences that get you out to site that build you up as an engineer. So I've had awesome responsibility and really liked my time so far at Snowy. So I'm keen to continue.
Fantastic, Kush. Thank you, Rachel and Kush, for that. So as you're starting to get the picture that our business operations really does require a lot of people with some very diverse skill sets. But, finding a career is not always a straight line. So I'm really keen to find out a bit more from these panelists, exactly their career path and maybe some of those light bulb moments that happened to you and milestones along the way that help you find what you love and where you are today. So we'll talk with Rachel, Craig, Emily and Guy. So Rachel, back to you again.
Well, great. Look, I think I was definitely like most kids. I left school really not sure what I wanted to do. I think at the time I was looking at, going to university, potentially wanting to be a physiotherapist or to study nursing. A family friend at the time who worked for Snowy pointed me to this IT traineeship, and I thought, well, I'm still a bit unsure on what I want to do, and I'd studied IT at school and I had done pretty well at it, so I thought, that'll be a good thing to do while I worked out, what I really wanted to be when I grew up. But I ended up loving it, and I've always worked within technology in different roles. Then I've worked out, what I do and I don't like, and mostly I enjoy the people side of my job, which is I've moved into a more of a management role, and I love it. So I guess it's important to be really open with different experiences and try different things, because they may lead you to a place that you don't expect. So I'll pass over to Guy, or back to Carolyn.
That's fine. Go to Guy. Thank you, Guy.
Thanks, Carolyn. Is my sound better now? Now? Maybe go to one of the others.
Okay, so we'll go to Emily.
Hey everyone. So my path wasn't as I didn't really plan it. I guess I kind of just took a few opportunities along the way, but pretty much I grew up on a farm and I was always interested in something to do with the environment or the land. And engineering, I was encouraged by a few people I knew to do engineering because it's just such a diverse degree to do and it can get you a lot of places. So I picked environmental engineering. I still had no idea what I wanted to do at uni though, and all the subjects were very, very different. So I'd say like a turning point was when I got a job with Snowy. So I started off as a receptionist in the Sydney office. I just did that part-time while I was at uni. And that kind of just opened up the door to renewable energy and water engineering. And I got super, super interested and decided that that was kind of the path I wanted to take. So then when I got a job on Snowy 2.0, I was stoked and eventually moved down to Cooma. We're now out on site. It's been good.
Thank you. Thanks, Emily. Over to you, Craig. We'll let Guy still get a little bit more time to get sorted. Craig, tell us all about your journey and those key milestones.
Excellent. Thanks, Carolyn. Yeah, my career in electrical engineering is definitely not a straight line, more of a zigzag. I finished my single discipline degree in power engineering in South Africa, where I grew up, and I wanted to become an engineer to make a difference in the world. And my first 7 years were spent working at a petrochemical facility where I rubbed shoulders with a lot of control system engineers, chemical engineers, process engineers. That gave me a great background in a power station. Basically, there was steam power, so we were responsible for all the utilities throughout the facility. After that time, I wanted to see a little bit more of the world and moved to Australia and got a job in the mining and minerals sector, where I did a lot of work in conveyor systems and smelters and flocculation plants, and got a taste of the underground world, which is probably coming into a bit more, we've got TBMs now, which is a bit of underground mining. But yeah, that was a good expanse into that. Moved over to the east coast of Australia and moved into the water and wastewater sector with Hunter Water Corporation in Newcastle. Did a bit of time there. That was really interesting, doing a lot of biodigester work where we actually implemented renewable energy by recovering methane from biodigesters. So that was my first step into the renewable energy sector. Worked in a research and development facility sponsored by the CSIRO, looking into carbon abatement technologies. So you're probably asking me, why am I still an electrical engineer? But yeah, they needed a control systems engineer for a pilot plant that they built on 2 different coal sites. Once that research project was done, a job popped up on my radar with Snowy Hydro, and I thought, yep, I'm taking that one. And I've been here now for 4 years. I'll probably stick around for a long while longer, and probably get some more experience in the other areas. But yeah, so in terms of career paths, I had no idea I'd end up at Snowy. But yeah, looking back at the last 21 years, it's been a wild ride. Thanks, Carolyn.
Right, Guy, let's throw to you and hear about your career journey that took, well, not a straight line. Let's hear about it.
One more go with the technology. Is that better? No? That's right. Keep going.
Oh, no, I think we can work past it. I'm just really keen for people to hear about your trade area, that's where you started. Can we just do a bit of that?
I'll give it my best shot. I hope everybody can kind of understand what I'm saying. This is what happens when technology goes bad on me. But anyway, I guess my career, I was always going to do something related to STEM. The I was always fascinated by machines growing up. Always wanted to do something with engineering when I left school. And for me, with machines, the bigger the better. So I actually followed a trade-based career. I got a trade in metal fabrication and welding was my first trade. So I got to build big things, and then I did a trade in fitting and machining. So I got to fix big things, and then I moved into business management, studied business management, and went into maintenance management and operations management. So then I managed and led the teams that got to work on the big things. And for me, with Snowy, it all started from a holiday down in the Snowy Mountains, and I seen the hydros and just went, wow, that's what I want to work on. And I was very, very lucky. I got to become the manager in charge of a number of our power stations, including Tumut 3, the biggest one in the scheme. And for me, that's a real career highlight, being in charge of a power station like Tumut 3, which is a bit of a national icon. So that's my career. Thanks.
Thank you, Guy. I've just had a message through that maybe it's something to do with the earphones. Could all the panelists just check those, or maybe even take them out for us, please? Thank you. So I've got another very interesting question here. Now, a little bit of background. You know, for the people out there in years 7 to 9 that are thinking about a career in STEM, it really is important to get your foundation skills developed through your schooling years, either through and then following on from your trade and then into your university studies. And my message is that we are learning all the time. So as adults, we are always learning. I know that I am here around Snowy Hydro. We never stop learning. But for some of us, it's a little bit trickier than for others. So that's where perseverance comes in. So if this is your dream and your passion to work in STEM, then those qualities are going to be things that you'll seek. I'd like to now turn to Kush and Sarah and ask them a few questions about being a graduate, and what was it like for you at high school and university, and what did you do to successfully complete your studies? So we'll go to Kush, is that right, or is it Sarah? I'm confused. Sarah, good, go, we're off to Sarah.
Thank you. Yeah, so one of the questions that we received was, how difficult is studying engineering at university? And I think this really depends on, you know, on yourself, on whether you've picked a university degree that you are really passionate about and that you know, are really committed to follow with. There's many different degrees out there in STEM. As we've heard from all these panelists, there's so many different careers and different options, and it's okay to not know what you want to do straight away, but definitely just give it a go. You know, university can be difficult, absolutely. There's many different subjects, even just in your one degree, and there were subjects at uni that I wasn't that good at, but then there were other ones that I was really passionate about, and those are the ones that I excelled at. So it's definitely just down to following what you're passionate about, and, you know, embracing the challenges, because at the end of it, it is a really rewarding degree to study, and the career that you get out of it is really interesting. So yeah, on to Kush. I think there was another question.
Thanks, Sarah, and definitely resonate with everything you just said. So I'm going to touch on one of the questions that came in. What advice would you give to a student that's potentially struggling with physics, who's thinking about a career in engineering? So yeah, as Sarah said, like, as you're going through, I mean, I really enjoyed high school and university, but that's not to say I found it easy. I found parts of it really, really interesting, which helped me out. For example, at high school, I did like physics, except I struggled with nuclear physics and relativity. But then I really liked forces and energy, which sort of directed my learning. And when you get sort of more choices, for example, when you go into, you know, year 10, 11, 12, you get more choices, and you get so many more choices when you leave school, whatever you do. So you can sort of direct your interests. I found some parts hard, and there's probably no easy way to say this. Sometimes if it's hard, but you need to get through it. You just gotta grind. And there was definitely parts of my high school and uni that I found that I had to do that. But one thing about uni, and Sarah talked about it, like, you know, you have your courses that you like, the courses that you don't like, but you always sort of have your peers and mates around you that are going through the same thing. So, I mean, like some of the maths courses I did early in my uni degree were quite hard, but a lot of other people were finding them quite hard. You find ways to learn off each other, get through, do a bit extra when you have to. So I don't know, I suppose the advice there is it's not easy, but it's really interesting. And I always take it back to, this is how I'm wired, but for me, challenging and interesting is way better than easy and boring, because you're going to have those spark up moments. You're going to be like, oh, wow, how does that work? How does that connect? And then when it happens, it's really awesome. So, I mean, that's the advice. It's not easy, but it's really interesting. And if you're passionate about it and you think you do like learning about how the world works, then I say go for it.
Oh, thanks for that, Sarah and Kush. We're actually lucky in that we've got a little bit of time up our sleeve. So I want to extend that question out to another panelist or two. Who would like to add to that and talk about those, you know, those hurdles that they had to get through with their studies, or what parts they found difficult and how did they rise to the occasion and get through it? What about Craig? Would you like to tell us a little bit about your experience?
I could definitely tell you a little bit about my experience. Yeah, I reiterate what Kush says about mathematics. I did not have fun with maths in the first 2 years at uni. But once we got to applied maths, it actually became really fun, because then you'd have something to go, oh, this is what this equation is all about. This is what this concept's all about. And once we applied it to real world engineering problems in third and fourth year, it was a breeze. So yeah, I'll put my hand up and be honest, I nearly quit in second year. I'd had enough. It was too hard, but you know, perseverance pays off. And year 3 and 4 for me was actually really good fun. But the real fun was actually getting into industry. Then you actually really start learning. So the grad programs, the vocation programs that we have at Snowy, that's your real opportunity to open up throughout the business and ask questions and move around, and that's fantastic. But yeah, the engineering studies at uni was not easy always, but yeah, you rely on friends and that your co-learners, all your academia friends, and yeah, you'll get through eventually.
Right, thank you, Craig. Wonderful advice. Emily or Rachel, would you like to add to that and tell us a bit about your story from that point of view?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Thanks, Emily.
Yeah, so I actually admit that I hated physics at high school and chemistry as well, actually. I didn't mind maths though, and I had a few family members that were engineers, and they reassured me that you know, in the real world, it's so different. Like it's studying is very different. It teaches you a lot of skills and background knowledge, but at the end of the day, unless you're in a research position or, you know, something like that, you're not going to be dealing with all the really hard technical equations and things. So that was also the case with uni. So there were some technical subjects, but there were also a lot of subjects about, you know, project management and communicating, and there was a few projects, like sustainable development kind of projects, which we did as well, which were really cool. So you really touch on a lot of different areas. Yeah, so I really recommend it. Like it's not as technical as it sounds. So if you don't like physics, just push through and look forward to the other subjects, which are a bit more exciting for some people.
Great, thank you, Emily. Terrific advice. Rachel, did you find any stumbling blocks for you going through your courses and your degree at all? We'd love to hear. Oh, I think Rachel might have frozen. So, Guy, I'm going to attempt to talk to you again. So let's hope we can hear from Guy without that vibration. So, Guy, did you have any struggles or any corners or turns that you took that you were a bit surprised about, or any areas of your course that you found difficult but overcame that to be where you are today?
Is that any better? Oh, there we go. Ditch the headset and we're right. So I guess to answer that question, my background's a little bit different to some of the others in that I've never actually attended university, but that doesn't mean that, I didn't follow a career based around STEM. So when I got to the end of high school, I'll be honest, I had pretty much next to zero interest in heading off to uni and doing some more study. I just wanted to get out into the big wide open world and play around with some really big machines. So that's why I chose my career path started as doing trade studies. And then I worked my way through TAFE doing my first trade and absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved my trade. And that's why I made the decision to do a second trade. So dual trade qualified, and it was while I did that second trade is when I thought about, right, where do I want to see my career go? What do I want to do later in life? And I wanted to get into leadership and management roles related to heavy industry. So that's why I studied business management. And so I've managed to, my career's really followed down the path of all those STEM subjects, but just through a leadership sort of path. So.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, we've nearly come to the end of our session, but I'd still like to cover off the last question. So everyone out there in years 7 to 9, you've heard some great stories and perspectives and some really valuable information shared to us today from our panelists. So I'm going to ask each participant to answer our final question. So we'll go around the circle, but prior to that, I just want to thank all of our students from years 7 and 9 that have tuned in from Canberra, Sydney, across New South Wales. It's been absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for all of your wonderful questions, and thank you for joining us here today. So panelists, I'm putting to you, what advice would you provide to these students about pursuing a career in STEM? And could you pass around to each other, please? Will we start with Em?
Oh, yes. So as I mentioned before, engineering doesn't have to be technical. So in engineering, creativity and innovation is also really valued. So you can go into like a humanitarian engineering or social impact engineering kind of pathway. So like there's something there for everyone, I guess is the message. And if you're interested in like making change or having an impact, then a career in STEM is a way that you can really achieve that. Next is Guy.
Thanks, Emily. My advice. Reality is STEM is a huge part of our everyday lives. It forms the basis of everything we do all the time. It's what creates the technology and the engineering that allows us to build things like Snowy 2.0. But my advice would be to look at your STEM subjects with your eyes wide open, because I think you'll be absolutely amazed at the number of different career options that are out there, and careers that you probably haven't even considered yet that are directly related to STEM. So think about what it is that you're passionate about. And if you pick a career path that is related to something that you are absolutely passionate about, you will have a long and wonderful career. And I'll pass on to Sarah.
Yeah, thanks, Guy. And I'm sort of following up on the same lines of, if there's something that you're interested in, that happens to be in STEM, or if you have the slightest little thought about, oh, maybe I could try this, maybe I could try that, just have a go. It's really important yeah, to just try it out for yourself. As you've heard, a lot of us have had, you know, not very straight career paths. We've started doing something else and ended up here at Snowy. And you're not going to end up anywhere if you don't just try at the start. So yeah, absolutely. If there's something you're passionate about, follow that. I'll pass on to Rachel.
Yeah, sorry, am I back?
Yes, but
Okay.
you're not moving, but we can hear you. That's great, Rachel.
Okay, so look, I think, look, similar to what everybody said, I think, you know, STEM skills are going to underpin most jobs into the future, and they may not always be what you think. So, you know, you might not consider yourself a scientist or an IT nerd, but, you know, think about the things that you enjoy and things that you get satisfaction from, yeah, and where your natural skills lie. So, you know, are you analytical? Do you enjoy problem solving or helping people? You know, a lot of those things really transition well into STEM careers. So I would say just, yeah, don't rule them out. Over to you, Kush.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, basically just building on what everyone said. I think Sarah and Guy talked about it. Yeah, STEM sort of everywhere. It's like if you enjoy understanding how the world works and how things happen, then there's probably something in STEM for you. So the advice around that would just be to be, as much as you can, an opportunity seeker. So if there's something that comes up and it piques your interest, give it a go. Like always look for opportunities and try out things, because you're never going to know whether you like them or you don't, or whether it sets you off into like further things if you don't get into them. And keep your eyes and ears open sort of wherever you go. I think I just heard on this call that Guy said that, you know, he came down on a holiday to here and found out about Snowy there that way, and now he's here. I wouldn't have figured out that I'd want to work at Snowy Hydro had I not come in 2019 snowboarding and went past Murray 1 and Murray 2 power stations and learned about Snowy that way. So it's sort of all around you. Keep looking out for things, and yeah, if there's something that piques your interest, then pursue it, give it a go. If you don't like it, then you can change. But yeah, I'll pass over to Craig, who's definitely got some good lessons through that.
Thanks, Kush, but I think everybody's stolen my answers actually. But yeah, some really good advice there. Science, technology, engineering and maths, as Guy said, is everywhere. It's all around us. I mean, you have a look out in the media, Tesla always continuously developing new tech, SpaceX, you know, you never know what the next frontier is going to be. So yeah, a bit of advice here, just keep your eyes open and ears peeled, and stay creative, stay inquisitive, you know, always asking questions and finding out how things work. That's what I went through. So yeah, I just reiterate what everybody else has said so far on the panel. Thanks, Carolyn.
Well, thank you, panelists. That's a very good reflection and some really fantastic advice for our people out there thinking about a career in STEM. So that brings us pretty much up to the end of our session. So I hope people in years 7 to 9 have been inspired through our discussion today. And I feel there's a message there about looking for opportunities as well, no matter where they are. It might be as simple as something at your school, and you may not actually see that line drawn between it and where you may be down the line in your career. But just have a go, take all of those, collect them like butterflies, because those opportunities are what build your experiences in your life to be able to gear you up ready for the next part of your life. So never discount an opportunity. So I'm really leaving that message with you hard. The next is follow your passion. We've heard all of these guys talk about passion. They had something there. It's triggered a feeling for them that they wanted to pursue. So think about that. What gives you passion? Perseverance. I heard that in everybody's stories, and I hope you guys did too. That if you want it hard enough, you know, you're going to persevere. You've got to try and get through. But that doesn't mean being on your own. That means asking people. I heard Craig say a lot about, you joining, talking to your friends and going to see your lecturers, talking with your academic people around you, family, friends, support everywhere. So if it's what you really want, there are support networks there for you. The other thing is look to your attributes. What do you love? What do you tinker with? I mean, there's all those things that you do outside of school and your learnings. Look to those. Some of those may be actually the key to where you want to be. So I hope that this talk today has started you thinking about where your future may lie. And if it's in STEM, please understand that your foundation skills are maths, science, English, technology and maths. And I threw English in there because you do need to articulate what you want to say. I'm an English teacher and that's why it's in there as well. So please look to what you're thinking about, talk to people about it. And we have had an absolutely sensational time here today, giving you a wonderful perspective on what Snowy Hydro is all about, our renewable energy future, and what careers lie within Snowy Hydro. So I hope out of this that we, for our local people, that we see a few of you lining up on your year after year 12, looking for a traineeship. That would be fantastic. And all the other programs that have been discussed here today. So I just, before we go, I want to thank our panelists so much. They've shared so much of their own selves, their stories and how they feel. Thank you. I want to thank all our wonderful year 7 to 9 people out there that have submitted questions that got the panel going. Brilliant. And a special thank you to our people behind the scenes that could bring this virtual panel Q&A session together and to bring it to you. I think it actually is the first of many. So thank you, everybody. That's it from us here at Snowy Hydro, and we look forward to the next time that we meet. Thanks. Bye.